Gator Dave, how you doing, sir?
I'm well. I'm well. How about you, Mike?
I'm good. We're back for another week. We're getting closer and closer.
We are. Last week for picks on the big four conferences. So we get down to the SEC. So definitely look forward to it. And remember, as you can see, we're Bets Utopia, your number one location for all things sports betting. I'm Gator Dave, and that's Miami Mike. So we're here to look at the Big Four and rolling in with the SEC this week. So the retooled SEC, adding Texas and Oklahoma finally after all these years. We've been talking about it. Now it's really going to happen. So very excited to have those two schools from Texas and Oklahoma rolling in. So don't forget, we're live on Wednesday nights, 8 o'clock. Hopefully have another great year. We had some great participation so far, and folks looking in on us and watching and viewing what we got going on. So we're pretty excited about what's going to be going on over the coming weeks and taking off for the season. And remember, subscribe, turn on those notifications so you know when we pop up and get this thing rolling. And remember, you can Google Bets Utopia Sports Betting, and we're going to pop right there. Soon we'll be rising to the top, and all it'll be Bets Utopia, and it's there, right? So all good. So, all right, we're looking forward to a great evening and rolling into SEC picks. Mike, you ready for us to roll?
Yeah, man. Let's get it rolling.
All right, let's do this. So we're going to start at the bottom at number 16. Amazingly, I have picked the Vanderbilt Commodores to come in 16th in the SEC. I know it's hard to believe. 2-10 is what I'm thinking. It's going to be a rough year for the Doors. They are returning 9 from a team that went 2-10 last year. A couple of question marks at quarterback right now. The soothsayers are saying a guy named Diego Pavia, who is ranked 16th out of 16th in the SEC. So take that for what it's worth. Strength of schedule for the Doors, 6th in the nation. Ouch. Going to be tough. It's going to be a tough year. They had the worst offense, the worst defense in the conference last year, and I would expect the exact same thing this year. By the way, they have a 10% blue chip ratio, Mike, just so you know. 10% are 4 and 5 stars on that team. So 2 wins for the Doors. 2 wins.
2 wins for the Doors.
All right, let's go next. We're going to roll over to Mississippi, and I've got 15th. I've got the Mississippi State Bulldogs coming in at 3-9. Mike, they're only returning 2 players from a team last year that went 5-7. Obviously, they scrambled around to try to get some folks off the portal. They did get Blake Chapin, who's ranked 11th out of 16th in the quarterback area, but still going to be rough. They didn't get enough. Let's put it that way. Strength of schedule, 13th in the nation, pretty tough. Blue chip ratio, 20%, not too hot. Obviously, Chapin comes in from Baylor, where he threw for 2,100 yards, 13 TDs, 3 interceptions. Not too bad, but it's going to be a rough year down there. In Starkville, Mississippi, I'm going to go with 3 wins for the Bulldogs. Next up, we're gonna go a little north, up to Arkansas. I got the Arkansas Razorbacks coming in at 14th. 4-8 is where I've got them going. They return 11 on a team that went 3-9 last year. They do bring in Boise State transfer quarterback Taylor Green, but he's only ranked 14th out of 16 out of the quarterbacks in the conference. Obviously, tough conference, no matter where you're coming from. Strength of schedule, 20th in the nation, a little right around that average, or a little tougher in the SEC. Pittman's O-line last year, worst in the SEC, Mike, and Pittman is supposed to be the guy with the O-line, but they actually sucked last year. They're hoping and praying Green can be their savior on the offensive side of things. Don't really see it happening. 16% blue chip ratio. Give me 4 wins for the Hogs and Sam Pittman. Bye-bye at the end of the year. Next up, I've got 13th. I've got the South Carolina Gamecocks coming in at 4-8. They're returning 11 from a team last year that went 5-7. I think they're going to do a little worse this year. Quarterback is Lenore Sellers. Never heard of him. They've got him ranked 15th out of 16 in the conference. Strength of schedule for the Cox is 25th. Definitely quarterback going to be a weak spot. They've got no firepower on the wide receivers. They lost Leggett and Knox. They're gone to the NFL. And they lost Antoine Wells, their third wide receiver, to Ole Miss. So they're depleted there as well. O-line gave up 41 sacks last year. Not too hot. And their defense is average at best. They do have a pretty decent blue chip ratio. 63%, not too bad, but it's just not going to be enough. 4 wins for the Cox and Coach Beamer on the super hot seat. He'll be taking over for Billy next year in the SEC, being the number 1 on the hot seat. So, Mike, that's what I got for my first 4 teams in the cellar.
Is he taking over for Billy because Billy's going to be gone?
I don't know that yet. We'll talk about that shortly there, Mike.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm pretty similar with these 4. Couple of changes here, Dave. So down on my bottom, I too have Vanderbilt. I have them at 3-9 actually. I do think they're going to sneak another one in there. So you mentioned Pavia, the transfer from New Mexico State. There's also a guy that transferred in from Utah, Nate Johnson. He got a lot of playing time last year with Cam Rising going down. So I know you said Pavia is going to be the guy, but don't sleep on Nate. Or at least it's going to be kind of like a 2-quarterback package system, kind of like they were running at Utah. I could see that happening too. Arkansas, I have them next at 4-8. Sam Pittman, you said it. He's going to be on the hot seat. This is probably going to be it. We were we thought he was on the hot seat last year. Kind of surprised that they announced that they were going to bring him back this year. But they are setting him up for failure. And that might be why. Because their SEC schedule is absolutely brutal, Dave. They start off at Auburn. Then they get Texas A&M at a neutral site in Dallas. Then they play Tennessee at home. Tennessee's off a bye. Then they play LSU at home. Then they play at Mississippi State. Never easy with the Cowbells. Ole Miss at home the following week. Then they get a bye week. Then they play Texas. Oh, and then their last game at Missouri. Last game of the season. That's their SEC schedule. It's not going down for Arkansas this year. They'll be lucky to get those 4 wins. 4-8 is where I have them. South Carolina is next. I got them at 5-7. The thing to know about South Carolina, their coach, Beamer Ball, a disciple of Beamer Ball. As he's been in South Carolina, they have been a completely different team at home than they are on the road. They're 15-6 when playing games in Columbus. They are 4-10 when playing games on the road. So keep that in your mind for any potential upsets later on this year. I will say they do play at Alabama, at Clemson, at Oklahoma. So those are going to be tough. And then my last one from the bottom 4. Had to do it to you, Dave. That's going to be the Florida Gators at 5-7. They're going to get close. They're just not going to get it done. Billy Napier is going to continue to be on the hot seat. He may be gone. I think that Florida would be smart in giving him one more year, give him a chance with his recruits, give him a year with Lagway because he's probably going to be merged for at least most of the year this year. But yeah, 5-7. And Dave's going to owe me $100 at the end of the year. So back to you, Dave. Those are my bottom 4, sir.
All right. Well, good to know, Mike. At least you're consistent, sir. So
yes.
Let's roll in. I'm gonna go my next 4, starting at number 12. I have the Kentucky Wildcats. They're returning 15 from a team that went 7-6 last year. They bring in the touted Brock Vandergriff from the Bulldogs of Georgia. He's going to be their savior, man. The experts believe he is 12th out of 16 in the conference. So
that's
obviously, guys
savior.
never started a game in the SEC. Kentucky comes in 29th, toughest schedule in the nation. It's going to be interesting. Yeah, Vandergriff's thrown for 165 yards and 2 TDs, Mike. That's his experience. So should be quite interesting. They do have some good receivers, though. Dane Key, 42 receptions, 632 and 6 TDs. Barian Brown, 43 receptions, 539 and 4. So not too bad. On defense, they got a kid named Deion Walker, one of the best defensive tackles in the nation. He'll do quite well. He's going to probably be a first-round draft pick, but they always have at least one good defensive tackle in there. So 29% on the blue chip ratio. Give me 6 wins for the Kentucky Wildcats. All right, next up. As much as I hate to say, I got the Florida Gators coming in at 11th. I think they're going to do one more game better than what Mike says. That game more than likely will be the one that he'll be crying at, but we'll talk about that one as we get closer to the beginning of the year.
Yeah,
I got the Gators coming in at 6-6. They're returning 14 from a team that went 5-7. Quarterback Graham Mertz ranked 10th of the 16 in the conference. Strength of schedule, Mike. Number 1 in the nation. They have Miami, Stanford, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, UCF, Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, and Florida State. And remember, the Miami Hurricanes have the 60th ranked schedule in the nation. All right, let's keep moving on here. Gators brought in. Here's the key. Here's the key. Well, you guys will have a better record because you got an easy schedule. So, but we'll still beat you.
And it's going to start.
Let me talk for a second about the defense. We brought in a guy named Ron Roberts. I think it's going to make a difference enough to improve the defense. He was the Auburn defensive coordinator last year. I think it's going to help. That's going to have a big difference. Grayson Howard came in from South Carolina. We got a freshman named L.J. McCray. Watch out for him. He's a 5-star. He's going to be tough. He's going to be like your guy. I can't remember his name that came in last year for Miami, but I'm sure you remember his name. What's his name? Your guy on the defense that did really well, the freshman.
Oh, Ruben Bain.
Bain, yeah. McCray's going to be the same thing. He's going to be a difference maker. All right. Gators, they picked up a couple of decent receivers. They picked up a guy named Elijah Badger, the number 1 receiver out of Arizona State, and they got one of Mertz's old receivers, Chamiri Dyke from Wisconsin. He's coming down. He's a senior. He's coming in to kind of shore up the wide receiver ranks a little bit. Offensive line's going to be reworked. We've got several transfers coming in. I think it's going to be a little stronger than it was last year. Not knocking the socks off, but I think it's going to be better. Running back, it's going to be a tough game against your Hurricanes. We've lost our number 1 running back in Montreal Johnson, 152 for 817 yards.
Hold on. I read earlier today Billy Napier quoted that as a very minor issue.
Mike, I will tell you that Johnson won't play in that game. So let's leave it at that. Don't believe anything he's saying right now. It's all a bunch of crap. So we're going to be bringing in sophomore Trayon Webb. He did a decent job. We've got a couple of freshmen to look out for. A guy named Jaden Baugh from Atlanta and Katie Daniels, kid out of Mississippi, looks pretty good. So I think we're going to be okay. It's definitely going to make that first game a little bit tougher, not having an experienced back in there like Montreal Johnson. So The guy you want to watch on offense, Eugene Wilson III. This guy's probably going to be I'm not going to say is going to be a Percy Harvin, but he could be of that caliber if he continues to mature. He had 61 receptions for 538, and he can run the sweep. He can do all that crazy stuff that Percy did back in the day. So watch out for him. He's going to be a major player on the offensive side of the ball. Gators have 71% blue chip ratio, which is pretty good, but 6 wins is what I'm going with at this point, and hope for the best. Next up, I got number 10. I've got the Oklahoma Sooners coming in at 6-6 as well. They're returning 8 from a team last year that went 10-3, but that was in the Big 12. Their quarterback, Jackson Arnold's ranked 9th out of 16 in the conference. Strength of schedule, pretty tough. They're 11th. They've got one of the tougher schedules in the conference as well. Jackson Arnold's going to have to come in and make it happen on offense this year. They've got running back Gavin Sawchuk, ran for a team high 744 last year and 9 scores. And Tawi Walker they got from Wisconsin. So they got some depth on the running back side. So they're going to run the ball. Defensive side, top transfer in, Caden Woolard. Defensive end looks pretty good. He's probably going to fly a little bit under the radar, but I think he's going to do a nice job for the team. Rushing the passer, he had 70 tackles last year, 13 sacks, 17 tackles for a loss in his last 2 seasons at Miami University. So I think that's going to be a big get for Oklahoma, but I just don't think they're going to be able to do it. They got too tough of a schedule. They're going to have a decent, an average season, right? Blue chip ratio at 59%. Give me 6 wins for Boomer Sooner coming over to the Big Boy Conference. My last team in this section, Mike, is number 9. I've got the Auburn Tigers coming in at 7-5. They're returning 11 from a team last year that went 6-7. Here's their issue. Quarterback, Peyton Thorne, again, coming in, ranked 13th out of 16 in the conference. Strength of schedule is 52, so they got an easy schedule. It's going to help them quite a bit to get to those 7 wins. They also brought in the 8th best recruiting class, which is pretty good. They got 2 5-stars, Cam Coleman at wide receiver and Amaris Williams, an edge player that's coming in as freshman that could have impact right off the bat. They've got 2 transfers in at wide receiver, Penn State and Georgia State guys. But I still go back to Peyton Thorne being an issue and a thorn in the side. Jacquez Hunter's their running back. Last year, 159 at 909 on yards and 7 touchdowns. 57% blue chip ratio. Still got a little work to do, but Hugh's going to get them there eventually. But I'm only give them 7 wins on a easy schedule. You're up, Mike. What you got?
All right. So again, we're pretty similar with these bottom teams. Honestly, the SEC as a whole, we're right there neck and neck with. I got Kentucky as well at 6-6. You mentioned Brock Vandegrift coming over from Georgia, former 5-star. Big time, like you said, they look to him as a savior. The difference between him and some of these other guys that they've brought in recent years through the portal and whatnot as the savior, Vandegrift's going to have time. He's going to have time to develop a little bit under that system, get a little more familiarity. So maybe not this year, but maybe next year, the year after, Kentucky will they're going to be a problem in the SEC. The problem this year is their schedule. They play at Texas, at Ole Miss, at Florida, at Tennessee. Those are just their away games. So that's brutal. Mississippi State, I have them at 6-6. Again, it's a very similar trend through these teams. It's a tough SEC schedule. Mississippi State has to play Florida, Texas A&M, Georgia, Mizzou, Ole Miss. I mean, Tennessee. It's good luck. I don't know any other better way to put it. Next, I got Texas A&M sitting at 7-5. So the thing with Texas A&M is they have a brutal opening 6 games of the year. They start with Notre Dame at home. I actually think that they're going to find a way to win that game and shock some folks. They follow that with McNeese State the following week. And the following week, they take a trip to the Swamp against the Florida Gators, and I think the Gators might catch them slipping because I think Texas A&M is going to be riding a little high after beating those Fighting Irish. Then they get Bowling Green at home, so you're looking at 3-1 potentially right there. Then they play Arkansas in that neutral site game that we spoke earlier. I think Arkansas might be able to sneak one. It's Jerry's world after all, so looking at maybe 3-2. And then they follow that with Missouri before their first bye week. So I think they're going to be sitting right around 3-3 before that bye, which is why I have them at 7-5. But if they can get through those first 6 games with a winning record, I mean, the back half of their season is pretty favorable for Mike Elko to kind of do something and shock some folks in this first year. They got Mississippi State, LSU, South Carolina, New Mexico State, Auburn. And then their biggest test is going to be the end of the year against Texas. I have them at 7-5. I think their ceiling could be 10 wins, and I think their floor could be 3 or 4 wins. So, it's completely up to how they buy into that system. They got the players. There's no doubt. Jimbo did his thing recruiting. Elko's a great coach, great recruiter in his own right. So Texas A&M, I think, is going to shock some folks a little bit this year, but they're not quite going to be where they want to be yet. And then last but not least, for my last one at 9, I got Oklahoma at 7-5 as well. I think they start the season pretty similar to Texas A&M. They're going to start, a little bit different actually. They're going to start 5-0. They have a very, very favorable schedule for those first 5 games, but then after that, it gets real for Oklahoma in this first year in the SEC. They got Texas, South Carolina, at Ole Miss. They play Maine, at Missouri. Missouri and Ole Miss are both off bye weeks, by the way. Then Oklahoma gets a bye week. They play Alabama at home. Following week, they go to Death Valley and LSU for their last game of the season. So I think they're going to go 7-5. I think they have a chance to start off pretty good. Again, kind of shock some people. Get people riled up a little bit, but then it's going to taper off towards the end, I think. So that's what I'm looking at here. Back to you, Dave.
Yeah, a lot of people are, they're saying that they got a tough schedule. They've got a really tough schedule, so it could be interesting. So, and a lot of folks are saying Texas A&M are like you say, they could win 9 maybe, but you just never know about those guys. I mean, it's one of those teams that everybody comes out thinking they're going to be awesome, and they don't do it. And that's where I'm going to go. So go ahead.
I will say though, their quarterback Weigman he's nice, and their defense. I mean, they're starting 11. I think 9 of them are seniors, so they have depth. They have experience. I don't know. I think I would watch out for Texas A&M. I think they're going to do some things.
Yep. And here's where I got Texas A&M. I've got them at 7-5 at 8th. They're returning 11 for a team that went 7-6 last year. And Wegman, they're saying he's going to be middle of the pack, but like you say, he could be high, he could be middle of the pack, but I think that ceiling's really up there for him. Strength of schedule helps them a bit. 39th in the nation. It's not, they're not in the 20s, but 39th, not too bad. Blue chip ratio. This is what you talked about. They got the players. 76% are 4 and 5 stars. They've got the players. Jimbo couldn't get her done, but maybe Elko can. But I've got them at 7 wins with the easy schedule. Speaking of easy schedules, let's go to the Tennessee Volunteers, and this is another one of those teams that everybody thinks, oh my God, they're going to win it all. I've got them at 7th. I've got them at 9-3. They returned 8 from a team that went 9-4 last year. They do have a quarterback that we shall see, right? Nico Iamaleava. Who's ranked 6 out of 16. We don't know, because he really didn't play it much, but in the bowl game. But here's the key. 68th strength of schedule. Easy damn money. Easy money. Receiving cores are loaded. Squirrel White, led the team, 67 catches, 803 yards. Former transfer